big jobs. So we have got a heater replacement. So we're changing out the everspacher. I think that's how they pronounce it. Everspacher, however the fuck you want to say it. We are replacing that for a Webasto Thermo 90, I think it is. Here is the culprit. So we are going to change that out because that one has decided to not work anymore, and they're not very good. We've had like ones in for about a year in other cranes and they've just give up. The ECUs crap themselves and then they're no good. So change it out for a webasto. So we have pretty much most of the things disconnected. All the water pipes, plugs, etc. Intake pipe. That exhaust clamp is loose, but the exhaust is actually stuck because it gets tight between the aluminium and the stainless. So we'll be able to wiggle that off. Fuel lines off. Next really is to take the heater off, but the way they do it, pain in the ass. So, you see them screws there? Which you can't get them out. So to get them out, take them 4 nuts off, and then in theory we'll bring that plate off, and then we should be able to get the rest of it off and undone. We'll mount the new heater to that existing plate. That's the plan. Are they going to spin? Oh no. Bonus. 2. Come on, baby. 3. 4. Something made me think they were going to not be captive. Something makes me think they're not captive, they're just tight in the arm, because sure I've done one like it before, and we should be able to get that off. It's tight on the exhaust, which is a pain. One here. Oh. We'll use that plate to bolt the new heater to, so I'll have to drill some holes and make it. The way I normally do it is the heaters, or the water heaters, they're actually serviceable. So you take the chamber out, and they have, like, you can get service kits. You can change like the burner, the glow plug, and some other bits inside, because they are like a serviceable item. So you want to mount it in a way that you can always, because there's like a clamp that holds it in, and it'll make more sense because I'll show you. But it holds it all together, and then so when it comes to service it, you just undo the clamp, and the whole sort of end where the burner is slides out, and then you can change all your pieces, slide it back in, put the clamp on, and that's it. So you want to position it in a way that it makes it easy serviceable, because if you do it the other way, it just makes it hard work, and we don't like hard work. We like easy jobs. and it'll probably be me who services it at some point in the future, so I might as well make my life easier. So yeah. This is the new heater. Explain how the heater works. They are pretty straightforward. ECU. Intake, air intake. Exhaust fumes out. Diesel in. Coolant out. Coolant in. So, your air comes in. Your fuel comes in. Obviously, air and fuel give you your flame. That then fires up. Your burner is inside here. That's then getting hot. Your unburnt or your burnt fumes are coming out the exhaust. Your coolant then comes in here. The water pump pushes it round, and around here there's like a water jacket. But like how you have on an engine, you have a water jacket. Same thing. Your coolant's going to circulate around because that chamber is hot because of the flame. That then heats the coolant up. The coolant comes out and it just circulates around the system. Obviously, the hot coolant travels into the cab, goes into like where the fan and that is for the like not a matrix it says, but yeah. Obviously, the fan then blows air onto the hot sort of where the coolant is, like the sort of radiator matrix, whatever you want to call it. And then obviously you then get your hot air. So that is how it works. It is pretty straightforward. Probably didn't explain it very well, but the gist is there. You get what I'm saying. But that's a water one. An air top one, you don't have the coolant. Same principle though. Still has your burner on up, but the hot air just has a fan push the hot air into the cab instead. So, but the water ones, you get a lot more heat out of them, and they tend to be, within reason, on cranes, they tend to be a lot more reliable when they're coolant. So, we now have secured to the heater. We've got 3 holes at the top, 3 holes at the bottom. I'm now going to fit some riv nuts, which are these, into there, which means we can secure the heater to this plate. The reason why we're going to put riv nuts is because if we nut and bolt that through that plate, when this plate is secured, it's so close to the cab and you won't be able to get a spanner up there properly and whatnot. So to be able to, if you ever have to change the heater, if the heater packs up, because you can't get to the bolts on the back of the mounting plate, because when that plate sits on there, that's too close as well. So we will riv nut that, so that way we always have access, and we can always get, all we've got to do is stick a spanner on the front, on the bolts, and we can unbolt the heater completely. It will bring the mounting plate with it, and then you can do it that way. It just makes life easier. So that is the plan. So this is the riv nut gun, and what you do, you drill your hole, you put your riv nut in, this screws in to the riv nut, and as you pull them tongs together, as you see, as you pull that, it gets closer. So as we wind that more into the thread on the riv nut, as you squeeze it up, it basically crimps here and it squeezes it up, and that's what bites into the hole on your metal plate, which is what then gives us that for us to be able to put our bolt into, screw up. Take our riv nuts, stick them in there. Like so. And we're going to get our riv nut gun. Screw that into there. Wash that up. there are settings for how much you squeeze it up. But it tells you the distance. I always do it personally by feel, because I've found that sometimes it doesn't always work. Not the best, but I tend to find I can get it sometimes better. You can sort of feel how tight you're going, and you can now see it has squashed that up, and now that is give us a thread. So we'll do the same on all of them. And as simple as that. You can see they're all squashed up. So now we've got a heater like so. So, heater secured. You can see we're all bolted up. So my plan, we'll mount that back on the crane like so. This will point towards the outside of the crane. That way we can undo that clamp and we can pull the burner out if we need to service it. I'm hoping my exhaust is going to be able to sit and connect up down here using one of the existing sort of brackets where the exhaust silencer was. So we'll try and see if we can adapt it. There's going to be some slight changes, but that's the main principle. So yeah. So heat's in place. All we've got to do now is plumb it up, get all our electrics in, then after, and then we can connect everything else up, cable tie everything up, and we should be good. But you can see how it sits to the cab. Our coolant pipes we're going to have to extend to make fit, but we have extra pipe, so it's not an issue. But yeah, that's the basic setup. Heater is in. We've got exhaust all piped up. Managed to use the existing hole. That's going to come up round out to the top. I'm going to run the air intake down this way so it keeps it out of the way. Fuel line on. We've got our water pipe on the back, straight onto the water pump. And then out with the heater into our tap, round through into the matrix, back up on the return, tap, down and back to our tank. I've just made this little bit of plate because I'm going to attach that to hold that in the right place. Managed to bolt that to one of the existing holes there, and then when it comes to taking this off, all we've got to do is unbolt that. That'll come out, that can come out, then you can service it. Probably hard to see, but right, we are pretty much near enough there. I've got all the wiring in, so we're going from our cab down. We've got our plug coming in from the heater. This wiring's going to come down and go into the cabinet. I've branched off. I've got my live, permanent live here. I've also got my fan wire here. These three wires, we've got a live, an earth and a diag line for the diagnostics, so if we need to plug in we can connect. Earth here that I've just got to connect on. But yeah, the main part is done. and then we're round into here. So we've come through, up, around here to here through our hole. Here's our screen. I've just got a cable tie all this up, and then the last job is just to put the new fuel pump on and run the wire for that, and then apart from that, top some coolant up and we can check it. But it looks a lot better. I've tried to keep it as tidy as I can and try to run it as much into the original sort of plugs as I can. That way when you check the drawings, you'll be able to find the pin what feeds the heater. So in theory nothing has really changed, as said. So from where it sort of starts, it comes in on this plug, which is exactly the same pin. I've put a new the wire in with a new pin, exactly as it is according to the drawings. That way anyone needs to look, they can see where the feed comes from and they can check it if they need to. But yeah, it's better to keep it as close to this sort of the drawings as what we got. That way it's just easier in the future, but it should be fairly obvious. But it's pointless running extra lives and all that stuff when you don't need to. The other wiring is obsolete. Obviously we leave that sort of kind of in, we don't rip it completely out. Technically someone, if they wanted to, if we ever got rid of the crane, they could put an original heater back in. All the wiring is still sort of there. They'd have to just put another heater there and sort all the pipework back out. But yeah, it's Friday morning, we're back. Last day with the heater, should be done in the next couple of hours really. We're all in. All I've got is just to put the diag plug on that wire. The heater's all in. I've just got to run the wire for the fuel pump and connect the new fuel pump up. Cab's all back together. All I've got to do is just mount the screen. So we have got power, so we'll have to just change the setting for the heater, because that screen works with multiple heaters, so you normally select the heater that you've got so it works correctly. But yeah, so they're the last few bits we've got to do. It's all in. We're about to connect the diag. So the diag line is in. I've got my computer fired up with the webasto. I went to turn on the screen. I've actually disconnected it now, but it kept going on hazy and on and off, and I was like, what the hell's going on? And I come back. I've got to put my earth on. What a flipping pillock. So yeah, I'm going to put that on, and when we should, I was like, why is his screen playing up? Like, surely it ain't a bad screen. No, it's just me. Got all carried away, got excited and put coolant in it, and then forgot that I hadn't put my earth on. So I'm going to put that on, and then we will resume. So, connected up, and now we have a good screen. Battery voltage. The only thing I need to do is change the settings, because if you see in system information, we're a TT Evo here, which we haven't got, so we need to change that, because if not, it's not going to work. So I've changed the heater type, because it was set to a TT Evo, I think it was. So to change it on the webastos, when the screen comes on, sometimes it will come up and allow you to select it or straight away. Sometimes it might already be preset to a heater and you then need to change it. If you need to change it, you need to go through the screen, find the settings menu, cycle to the end, and there's a reset button. Press the reset, and once you press reset, the screen goes blank. When that goes blank, you press and hold the knob on the front of the screen, the turn dial, and the power button at the same time. Hold them down. It will then, as it comes back on, it will come back on to start with as normal, then it will change and it will say heater, and then you can cycle through the heaters to pick the one you want. We've got a thermo 90, so it says thermo 90/50, so there's two types, the lower power one or the higher power one. So We've got the thermo 90, we're all connected on as we should. I've got the webasto screen up. So this is actually the state of the heater at the minute. So we're off. Obviously we've got our supply voltage, we've got the 25 volts. The temperature is currently reading. Obviously there's no heating energy because it's not on. The glow plug flame monitor, it's got some reading of resistance, which it should have. And most of the other things are off. Exhaust gas temperature sensor as well, picking up a bit of temp. Obviously we're connected with a webasto diagnostics. This just makes life easier. You can unlock, and like the heaters, normally the webastos, they lock out after 3 failed attempts of startup. You can, sometimes there is a sequence of pulling the fuse out with the ignition on, it then will unlock it. Sometimes it doesn't always work, and then you have to physically plug in with diagnostics. I managed to get this lead second or on through eBay, but you can pick them up. They don't come up very often. You can, it just makes life easier. I've adapted it as well to suit different cranes. Some cranes only have the diag line, some have the power and earth included. So if I haven't got that, for like the Liebherrs, they have that plug in the back of the cab, so I can just plug that straight in and I get my power, and then plug my diag line in. Or I've always got crocodile clicks as well. So it just depends what I need, but that way I've always got power if I need it, because let's say some don't actually give you power in the plug, they just give you the diag line. But now we're all connected, I'm gonna just check I can actually do the component test. So up here I've got component test. I've got the fuel pump, fan, coolant pump. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna turn the fan on, and I can change the seconds. So I'm going to turn that on to make sure the fan is working. Not sure if you can hear it, but that's actually come on. I actually told you wrong. I've actually picked the vehicle fan and not the combustion air fan for some unknown reason. I don't know why, I just saw fan and got excited. But yeah, so you've got both. So I can do the vehicle one. So if I do that, that one's on, so I know that's working. And if I do that, let's do that for 20 seconds so that I can get there. 20, combustion air fan, that is on. You can hear that going, and we can also see that it's working as well. I know when I've added the wiring into the pit plug itself, which is this one, that green and white one there, I've got that in the right place and that is working. I want to try is the coolant pump. I want to get that circulating because I've try and get the coolant flowing just to make sure that is good, because if these do not pick up any coolant, the heater will not start up. So turn that on now. So you can see we're on. So once I just turned that on, I found, turn it back on, it was quite noisy before. To me it sounded maybe like quite common for getting some air in them, and it was quite noisy. So I just took that pipe off top just to check to see if there was any coolant, and there was coolant, but there was a lot of air as well, so that's why it's a bit noisy. The pump was sort of cavitating a little, so I've just cracked that off, allowed the coolant so all the air is gone, tightened the clip up again, and I've turned that pump back on. And already it's a lot less noisy. If I stick that there a second, you can't even hear that. So that is a lot better than what we were. So we should now, we've got no leaks, now I've had that flowing. All I'm going to do, prime it up, stick some fuel to it to make sure we've got no air there, and we should be good to fire up. Our fuel pump is going to be active for 60 seconds. So if I swing around here, we should find, yeah, fuel pump is there and that is clicking. So I'm not sure. Put that down there. You should be able to hear maybe a fuel pump clicking. So we should have that pumping away, and we should be able to give that a whirl on the test. So, parking here. That is now on. We've got some smoke coming from the exhaust. We've got some more resistance on our glow plug. Combustion fan is kicked in. Voltage, temperature is already picking up. Heating energy is picked up already. She's a little, she's roaring. Oh yeah. Houston, we have liftoff. We are well away. Obviously we've got a bit of smoke, but ignore that because that's just the pipe. Bit of water on there, and I spilled some antifreeze on it when I pulled the pipe off, so. But the old coolant tank is a bubbling. Have flow. She's roaring away. Always look bad to start with, and a lot of times you'll find people go, oh, your crane's on fire, or this or that, especially if the heater hasn't been fired up for a while, because to the untrained eye it looks like we have a fire, but we don't. We're good. It's just the first initial start up, but we're going well. So we'll keep that running, let it get up to temperature. Yeah, keep an eye on all that. Should get up to 80 degrees. Leave that to keep running. And we'll see what she does. She's definitely on the first attempt, which is nice. Some people will just try and fire them up, which never helps. You need to make sure you've got your fuel there, got your coolant there, because if not, if it doesn't see the coolant, it won't fire up. If you haven't got your fuel there, it's not going to fire up because it will take too long to get it there before it sees it ignite, and then it will just fail the start. So there are a few things you've got to bear in mind. So like I say, because it's a new heater, prime everything. Make sure your coolant's flowed. Make sure your diesel's there. Check everything, make sure your fan is working. And you shouldn't really have any issues. Glow plugs are quite common for burning out. Obviously this is new, so we shouldn't, but make sure your glow plug is working. And it should, there's no real reason why it shouldn't fire up. So we are currently 70 degrees. That should cut out at just over 80. So it will sort of, that'll be the max, and then it will just hover at around 80. Once we're up to 80, I know we're up to full working temp, and that we haven't got no issues. I can already feel my pipes are hot. They're hot already. I can see the coolant bubbling in there. It's roaring away. doesn't take long to get hot. 76 degrees already, so it's only been on a couple of minutes and we're already nearly up to temp. They're pretty good, the webasto heaters. 80 degrees. We've got no faults. She's still roaring away. Let's go see how the exhaust is. Oh yeah, toasted. That's a good sound. The things crane drivers will do and give to a mechanic at like winter time when the heater's not working, it's unbelievable. They're all your best friend, it makes you laugh. Come summer, they love you because if their aircon stops, again, biggest fan ever. They're like, oh, the aircon's not working when they're sitting there sweating their tits off. Best thing since sliced bread. Once that works, they ain't interested. But then come winter, when the heater don't warm up, oh, my heater's not working. Like you say, they'll do anything. So it does pay to be a mechanic sometimes because we are wanted. Only because, well, yeah, they want stuff from us, but that's not the point. So, still got a good voltage. Our temp is up to 81 degrees, which that will be the highest it gets. I'm just going to leave it so it keeps that temp for a bit, just so it keeps circulating everything, and then, you know, it shows me if I've got any leaks with the pipes. It's better off to be sort of hot and when it's got a bit of pressure behind it. But the heat and energy, we're still good. Our glow plug's fine. Air fan is fine. The fuel pump is ticking away. The set point of the temperature controller is 80 degrees, just 80.2, which is why we've got 81 on the temperature, so it won't go no higher than that. Exhaust gas temperature sensor is picking up that we're on at 307.5 degrees, so it's pretty hot. But we've still got no faults. Fans are blowing out red hot. I have left the tap in. We contemplated removing the tap because the taps aren't very good, but the problem is if we remove the tap, we won't have no control of sort of how hot it gets in the cab, and for it to be on and off is just going to be a nightmare. The taps aren't very reliable, and because of the new heater, because of the temperature, they sort of seem to be a lot hotter than the old type, the everspacher one, so you end up finding they don't cause issues, but the taps are crap anyway, and you give it that bit extra heat and they just don't seem to last. But that tap has been in there for a while, so we'll have to see. But I've done one other heat, or sort of, yeah, one other one on a 60 demag, and that same heater, changed it to webasto, and it seems to be lasting. So I've done the same on this one. I managed to, there's some slight differences, so I've managed to run the tap a bit different and a bit better, just so it flows and looks a bit tidier. Because at the end of the day, you want it to look as best as you can and like it's actually meant to be there. I don't think it looks too sad. There's a few joins in the pipes, but to be fair, I've only added like 2 extra clips, so there was already a lot of joins in the pipe worker anyway. But because of the way the bends are, unless you buy a pre-formed pipe, which again, all people do is have to cut them and make them to suit where they want them to go, which is what I've done. I have turned the tap from sort of horizontally along the back of the cab to like sort of vertically, so it runs like away. But that way I haven't had to chop the pipes coming out of the heating matrix. I also haven't had to chop the return going back to the tank that went from that tap. All I've had to do is chop down the one that feeds onto the water pump just to make it shorter, and then I have added 2 90, so a 90 coming out of the heater to another 90 to bring it along the length of the heater, and then I've used the 90 that I had, which I cut off the feed to the old water pump. I've actually managed to reuse that, put that onto the tap, and then put a join in there to link the outlet of the heater to the inlet on the heater tap. That way it don't actually, like you say, look too sad. There are a few joints and you have to be careful because, like I say, you don't more joints is just a more chance for it to leak. But there's not a lot you can do unless you get, like say, one formed pipe, and most heaters aren't like that. So, and we're not going to go get specialist pipe made for the sake of a joint. So they don't leak that often. So it looks tidy in my eyes. Like you say, there's a few joints, but it's all working as it should. It's serviceable. I've had to make a bracket to hold the tap, just because this is a lot bigger heater. It doesn't fit to the plate now, because the new heater takes up a lot of room. So I have just made a small little 90, drilled a hole, attached that to the existing bracket or existing plate, which had a pre-existing hole there, and then just another hole down the plate just to bolt the tap up to, just so it secures it. And all you'll have to do when it comes to servicing the heater is unbolt that main whole bracket, move that, then pipes that, it will just all sort of flop down, and then the back of the heater just slides out. So it's still easy to serviceable, or it's still easy to service, I should say, which is what we want. So hopefully, if the driver looks after it, doesn't run it out of diesel. And in the summer, the biggest thing is they don't use them, obviously, because they don't need a heat normally. But if they turned them on just now and again, they'd fire up, and then that way, come winter, they wouldn't have any issues. But they don't, obviously, because they want their aircon. They don't think, oh, I'll just fire it up for a bit. Nah, it's too hot for that. So they leave them for months, and then wonder why it comes to winter, and you've got no heat, or the heater doesn't want to fire up, or you know. And like say, 3 attempts, it's locked out. And once they've got them 3 attempts, if the fuse doesn't work, it's game over. Some of them are, well, some of them aren't no good and wouldn't even know what fuse it is, what to pull or anything, and it's just hard work. So then it means that we have to come out, unlock it, plug the diag in, unlock it, and then, yeah, it means, it takes everything. It means we've got to go out and, yeah. So they look after it, it will last. Keep the service, we'll change filters and that, but they are pretty good. And if you run them up hot, it keeps them clear, and they don't give you many issues. But yeah, I'm going to switch that off, let that cool down, and then have a tea break, come back, and then fire it back up on the normal heater control, make sure it fires up, and we should be good to go. That should be it. Apart from checking everything, make sure I'm happy, but that should be everything. So that's it. We're in. We're done. Put the panel back on. But yeah, she's all done. I've had it tested. I've had it on, off. I've had it right up to temp. I've checked the tap is still working, and we're all good. So that is pretty much it. Hopefully that's a good enough job. But yeah, that's the first YouTube I've done. So, well, I'm gonna make it into a YouTube. Never done one before as such. So this is the actual, there's a couple of videos on my YouTube. They're not really, they were never made for YouTube. I just sort of threw them on there, but this is the first attempt at a YouTube video. Don't really know how it's gone. Don't know if it's too long, not long enough, not enough detail, I don't know. Let me know. Like you say, I'm going to start trying to do some YouTube videos, because why not? Don't, like I say, don't really know the ins and outs. Very new to it, so if you do like it, like it. If you don't, let me know what I need to do and what I can improve on. Because like I say, I am new. I've done some Instagram videos and TikToks, and yeah, thought let's give a YouTube video a go. I'm not very good at editing and all that sort of jazz, so I don't really know how well this is going to come out, but or what I need to do. But yeah, should be it. So let me know if it is good. Like, subscribe. I'll try and do some more. Cheers.